I want to talk about AI, because we've been talking about it a lot here.
I think it'd be fair to say that like not all AI futures are benign. Like, why do you want to live? What's the point? What inspires you? What do you love about the future? If the future does not include being out there among the stars and being a multi-planet species, I find that it's incredibly depressing if that's not the future that we're going to have.
I'm available 24/7 to help solve issues. Call me 3 a.m. on a Sunday morning. I don't care.
That's the future that's exciting and inspiring.
You probably can't because of stockholders, right?
I mean, it's legal, right?
It's totally legal.
Okay.
That's all it is.
Wait, is that a real picture?
I think that's a real photo of a deer that probably jumped into a pool and then just thrashed around and drowned. So that's
Jeez, is that true?
That's delightful.
What is that actually happened?
Of course it happened. I think this is a reflection of how just
Oh my God!
dark we've become.
Oh my God!
Well, guys, another day, another influencer scam, this time from none other than Logan Paul. Yes, that's right, folks. I also thought he had enough money from boxing with Floyd Mayweather to where he wouldn't need to promote an outright scam, but he did anyways. Let's go to the board and check it out. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the $10 million studio. I'm your host, Coffeezilla, the internet detective, and today we're talking about the Low Gang. Guys, you forget about this guy. He's been making big waves, making fights, making bank, but not enough bank because he's recently endorsed a crypto coin called Dink Doink.
I'm doing the same thing as you, holding my doink.
Now, Dink Doink is one of many tokens with zero actual usefulness. Instead, like every other Ponzi token, it's built off nothing but marketing hype, a few celebrity shoutouts, and the eventual sell-off that's going to happen. And here's the honorable Logan Paul to promote his Ponzi scheme.
What up, Dink Doink Telegram? It's me, Logan Paul. Now I know what you're thinking. Logan, what the f*** are you doing here? I'm doing the same thing as you, holding my doink. That's what I'm doing. This is a coin I believe in.
Yeah, actually, this is something, dude. Okay, dude. This is something everyone's been doing lately. They think like to themselves, maybe if I run a Ponzi scheme, ironically, it will be forgiven, right? Like maybe if we just lean into the fact that everyone knows it's a scam, I can then scam and it's okay. Because, hey guys, we're being ironic about the fact that it's a shitcoin. No, self-awareness doesn't save you. Congratulations. You're a piece of trash. Who knows you're a piece of trash? Good job, buddy. Good job.
It's my favorite one, to be honest. Dink Doink is so much more than a meme coin. It's a multimedia coin. Cartoon meets crypto. It's the blockchain, baby, in cartoon, fun, comedy format. I'm going to be doing an episode myself soon.
Okay, so he promotes it. He says there's going to be, that's a big thing. There's going to be cartoons involved, but it looks like they're trying to rip off the South Park style. And in general, he presents himself as like an interested but unaffiliated investor in this coin, saying this is the dumbest, most ridiculous coin I've ever seen, and that's why I'm all in. But it turns out this is incredibly misleading because Logan Paul is far from just a guy who found out about this coin like anyone else. Because in a podcast with the Dink Doink CEO, he said that Logan Paul created the thing.
We might as well, be honest about how this came about. I was chilling with Logan and we were like, what's the stupidest name we could think of for like a coin, right? What's the weirdest name we could think of for like a little mascot that's like a dumb sprint? We were like, Dink Doink. Oh my God, his name's Dink Doink. And it just came alive. Like Logan designed the character on his phone, on Snapchat.
So you design it and then you go, wow, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. It's your thing. Like what? You don't think you should mention the fact that you designed the thing, that you're the guy who designed the whole like mascot idea? I mean, take credit for your idea. If you thought of it, take credit. But I think he doesn't want to because obviously it looks bad if you're pumping your own little Ponzi coin you created. And it's not just Logan Paul. The whole gang's here. The whole impulsive gang's here. Look at this. It's disgusting. Promoting this to your fans.
Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Mike, here to send some love and camaraderie to the Dink Doink Telegram team. I know you guys have been busting your ass to make sure that the hottest, newest coin of...
How is this not parody? How are you able to look at yourself in the mirror and not be embarrassed by this performance here? What am I watching?
2021 is Dink Doink with the hottest functionality and all of the most built-in techniques, tactics, and capabilities.
It's funny because he's like saying it like he's being sarcastic, but there is no turn in this video where he's like, I'm just joking, guys. I wouldn't promote a Ponzi scheme. He's like trying to ironically do it, but also he's serious.
Dink Doink is cleared to be the hottest fucking coin ever.
Here's their other buddy, okay? You've got an all-star cast of Logan Paul universe.
A Dwarf Mamba here to tell you each and every one of you is beautiful. You know why? You know why? Because y'all are part.
Y'all are making me rich. I got in early and you're pumping my bags. That's how this works, guys. They get in early, you pump up their bags, they sell it off.
Of one of the greatest, if not the greatest, coin of all time. Of all time.
I love how they all pretend like this isn't their little house's idea. They were all sitting in the house, they thought of this idea, and they have some other guy launch it, who's like an unknown, this guy Jake, he's not very well known, but they actually are the ones who thought of it, and they promote it like it's not their thing.
Dink Doink is going to the fucking moon. You don't believe me? You don't have to. You can just be naive and dumb. It's all good.
I don't think we're the naive, dumb ones here, guy.
But y'all, the community, we're not naive. We're not dumb. We're a fucking family.
Oh. Hey, you're naive and dumb if you believe that you're a family. Right. When they sell off, they're going to be your family. Try calling them and go, hey, I lost the house. I'm on Dink Doink. See what this guy, Mr. We're a Family, says to you then. Oh my God. This is such a disingenuous little scheme created by the Low Gang. Unbelievable. Even the founder was asked about, like, dude, why is this even a coin in the first place? And he could hardly answer it.
You know, as you well know, there's over 10,000 cryptos out there right now. What makes your project different from the countless amounts of BSCs that launch every day?
Pay attention. Good question.
What a great question. Thanks for that question specifically, because it's like the most important question, right? I've never been asked that question. This is actually my first podcast.
Okay.
Dude, what is this answer? The stalling. Hey, that's such a great question. Really great question. And I'm going to answer that question. This is my first podcast ever. Guy, you don't have it.
Thanks for that question specifically, because it's like the most important question, right? I've never been asked that question. This is actually my first podcast as Dink Doink's CEO. So I have a really good answer to it.
All right.
It's been 30 seconds. Get to the answer. Logan Paul wanted more money. That's ding, ding, ding. Hey, you got yourself an answer, baby. That's your answer. Logan Paul wanted more money. But sorry, go ahead.
I'm doing this for a very specific purpose. And Dink Doink, on its face, is a funny cartoon, and it's a meme, and it's a community having fun on Twitter, and it's social media stars tweeting about it every week, and you know, that's what it is on its face.
What happens when the social media stars stop tweeting about it, by the way? You ever ask yourself that? You got a few people to tweet while it makes them money. What happens when this thing inevitably loses steam? It went from going up to going down, and what goes up must come down. So if you guys made $1 million off this, you've taken $1 million from your fans. Congratulations, you've reinvented a Ponzi scheme. Great job, guys.
You know, you brought up Bitcoin earlier, and what's going on with Elon, and those two communities now in sort of a quarrel. And I find the crypto space in this moment to be at its most important moment it's ever had, where community turns into need at some point to move forward. We have the technology, we have the attention, we have the passion, we have everything except
a useful coin that people actually want to use. So you're going to solve that by creating Dink Doink.
Except a unified community.
The need of cryptocurrency is a unified community, you're saying, and your solution to a fractured community with too many coins is to create another coin. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And the only explanation is a blatant cash grab. This coin has no usefulness outside of a few celebrities talking about it. And it's supposed to be like about comedy and fun. But really, at the end of the day, this is just an investment. A very bad investment that is clearly going to enrich a few people at the cost of everyone else. And the last thing I want to show you to prove that is the fact that 80% of these coins are currently owned by the top 100 wallets. Okay? Guys, if you want to buy Dink Doink, you can go check out who owns all the coins. And right now, the top 100 holders, of whom you can be certain Logan Paul and the gang are some of them, own 80% of this thing. And you're telling me that this is going to revolutionize and change the world? No, I don't think so. It's just another scam from another celebrity influencer who's pretending to be ironically doing it. It's embarrassing. Logan Paul designed this whole thing. He needs to actually stand by this. 6 months ago, Matt Damon told us all that fortune favors the brave in a commercial that appeared to be about sailing, flying, and rocket ships, but was actually about a crypto exchange. The implication, of course, being if you don't buy into crypto in 2022, you're a chicken, a coward, and you're going to be crying to your grandkids trying to explain why they can't eat because you didn't listen to the janitor from Goodwill Hunting.
My boy's wicked smart.
And this was the beginning of a major spending spree for the crypto exchange called Crypto.com. They were going to do things differently. While other people bribed celebrities like Jimmy Fallon with pictures of apes, Crypto.com was going to be smart and judicious about their spending, which is why they spent $100 million on this ad comparing going to Mars with buying crypto. And they followed it up by buying the naming rights to the Staples Center for $700 million. Now, I know what you're thinking. $800 million, that's a lot of money to spend just on ads. But fear not, they have a great revenue business plan. They're going to make money on trading fees and also on people investing in their coin called Kronos or Crow. But of course, getting people to go to your website is one thing, and getting them to invest in your token is quite another. So to make this happen, Crypto.com hatched a plan. They were going to give an insane offer, a debit card which gave you 8% cash back on all purchases. They would pay for your Netflix account, they'd pay for your Spotify subscription, Amazon Prime. They would even put you in a private jet partnership if you bought a lot of their crypto and promised not to sell it by locking it up, also known as staking. The more you staked, the more you earned with their tiered system. They had several cards on offering, the top one being the Obsidian card. They advertised it gave you 8% back on all purchases instantly. All you have to do to get it is invest $400,000 into the Crypto.com token and stake it for like 6 months or something. Now, of course, if you're too poor for that, you can try their lower tiers like the Icy White or Jade collection. In both cases, you get slightly less rewards for paying a lot less money. But if this is starting to sound like a Ponzi scheme, locking outrageous sums of money into a system to get outrageous returns, we haven't even gotten to the best part, which are the staking rewards. The other part of this whole scheme is that while you staked Kronos coin, you made Kronos coin. Apparently, they were giving 12% per year extra in Kronos to people who staked Kronos. That's in addition to the subscriptions they're paying for, 8% cash back, all of this stuff. All you have to do to get all of it is be brave like Matt Damon says and give them $400,000 for a while. So that's the plan in a nutshell. What could possibly go wrong? Crypto.com slumps 30% as staking rewards are slashed. Crypto.com, soon after assembling everyone in their website for this flagship marketing campaign, kind of was like, we're actually not going to do that because it's unsustainable in their words, because, you know, all these crypto arenas they have to buy, they don't exactly have the money for it. So as of May 1st, they took all the cards and basically obliterated the rewards. Here's the change on screen. You can see things like Obsidian and Icy got their rewards obliterated. Now, understandably, their investors who staked incredible amounts of money into their Crow coin were completely pissed off about this, because not only is their card in most cases nearly worthless, also the price of their Crow, which is locked up and they can't sell, began to plummet right after this news was announced. Here's some quotes from their Reddit. So I staked for Indigo at the peak because of the 3% cash back made it worth it. My Crow is down over 50%, and now they're slashing the cashback rates. Wow. So basically people lost money on their staked money while also having the ability to get cash back slashed. But the people in charge of Crypto.com clearly felt like they were between a rock and a hard place. On the one hand, they had promised unsustainable things and spent their money on advertising. On the other hand, they might go bankrupt because the price of their token is going to zero. And it was at this point the CEO decided to backpedal and give something back to the community. He said in a comment, quote, "The community has always been really vocal with regards to the changes to the card program announced yesterday. We care deeply about the community and will always hear you and always listen to you. As a result, we're revising card staking rates." It was at this point they gave a small concession back to the community. They were going to re-implement the staking at a slightly lower rate, but from the reaction, it wasn't quite enough. This guy says, "Didn't know we were haggling for price at the fish market. Did we haggle to have a different stake amount when we applied for the Crow card? No, we didn't and couldn't. And here we have Crypto.com spending millions on advertising, now haggling with us on the rates. So if we didn't make noise, you would have just sliced us and diced us?" The answer to that, of course, is yes. Definitely yes. And the worst part of all of this is that even after wrecking people on this sort of bait and switch deal, Crypto.com is still advertising their 8% cashback rates even now. And so what's the lesson here? Well, as kind of trite as it sounds, the real lesson is that if it sounds too good to be true, Matt Damon will promote it anyways. And by the way, Crypto.com CEO Chris, that guy, you should probably know, before starting this crypto exchange, he left his last job, quote, amid accusations from customers and business partners that they had been ripped off. But if that's not bad enough, check this out. One business owner, quote, claimed Chris's platform had issued promotions to boost its revenue just before shutting down. Deals that were then left worthless. So, I don't know. Maybe you should add that in your commercial next time.
What does Matt Damon say on that Bitcoin commercial? Fortune favors the brave! My dad said he listened to Matt Damon and lost all his money. Yes, everyone did! But they were brave in doing so!
For the last 6 months, I've been working on my own NFT project.
We've put hundreds of thousands of dollars in it. Personally, the whole team, $1 million plus.
We had an issue with CryptoZoo, where our lead developer took the code that he made, fled to Switzerland, and like held it hostage for $1 million.
He literally never paid me anything at all, ever. Eddie promised me, 5% of the tokens and $1 million. He never paid me.
This reporter says Eddie's entire story is fake.
The
biggest reason it failed, in my opinion.
Doug, I'm not the bad guy here.
Yeah.
There's some actual out there.
Yeah.
And it's not me. Like, I'm here to build.
Welcome to part 3. So far, we've discovered fake orphans, millions of dollars stolen, and a cast of sleazy characters, but now it's time to put it all together. What is the truth? And who's to blame? We're going to start by going through leaked text messages of the CryptoZoo team to understand all of their motivation. Then we'll go to blockchain evidence and show who sold what. And finally, we'll confront some of the people responsible. But before we can do any of that, we have to start in March of 2021, 6 months before the token even launched. Our 4 suspects, Logan, Crypto King, Eddie, and Jeff, are in a group chat discussing CryptoZoo, which starts as a copy of something else. Quote, "I like imitating crypto kitties," Jake the Crypto King says. Logan replies, "I agree." And initially, it wasn't called CryptoZoo at all. It was called Crypto Pets, and they were going to sell a Pets token. And pretty early on, it became clear this was all about money, how they were going to sell this thing to investors. In fact, Crypto King said he thought it was worth at least $20 million in only 6 months, saying the range is insane. $20 to $210 million. It's beautiful wherever we land. Eddie jumped in at this point and talked about how he could sell the project as an investment to a friend, Matt Higgins, saying, quote, "He has to spend that $350 million somewhere. Why not us?" And Logan says, "I love that idea. Crypto King, I'm in." And of course, you have Jeff saying, "Let's go." So you can see right there, they wanted to sell this game before it had even launched. Now later, Eddie amends the list of investors and says, quote, investors will be Gary Vee, Todd Morley, James Altucher, Ryan Kavanaugh, and others confirmed on my end. Supposedly, they had $100 million of investment interest. Now, I actually went to some of these investors and asked if this was true, and the one person who responded denied it, Ryan Kavanaugh. Quote, nope, not even a little bit. So this looks like it could be yet another lie from Eddie Ibanez, but either way, it looks like there was more issues than just finding investors because the team wanted to pre-sell tokens, and not everyone was sure it would be legal. Jake the Crypto King mentions that, quote, if we have a pre-sale, it opens us up to SEC issues. And Jeff agrees and says, don't want to do anything that brings the SEC eyeballs. Now, not everyone wanted to be so cautious, though. Logan argues everyone does pre-sale with coins. Eddie agrees. He says, you absolutely can do it. I have the SEC down, private and pre-sale. And honestly, it was quite the dilemma for this team who wanted money. You know, do a pre-sale, make millions, but, you know, you have these potential legal issues. Don't do it, you make less money. So Crypto King comes up with a middle solution. He says, if we can't sell, no pre-sale. We can still trade them in the liquidity pool. And this is the start of a new disaster, which takes a bit of explaining. Now, just so we're clear, a pre-sale is where you sell investors coins, usually at a discount, before you've launched. And then when you launch, you give them those coins. Now, like I said, the team didn't want to do that. So what they did instead was they bought the tokens on the open market right after launch. But they tried to get clever with it because they didn't actually announce that they were launching this coin at all. They stealth launched it on June 11th and didn't announce this token through Logan until August 18th, meaning they had all that time to silently buy up as much of the supply at a steep discount as they wanted. And the idea here was that doing this, the team could get these tokens extremely cheaply, which is kind of like a pre-sale, but, you know, without all the SEC troubles. And Crypto King makes this clear on June 7th when he says, quote, launch of the liquidity pool is where huge money will be made because you get in cheaper. And then says, we, the team, begin buying out the liquidity pool. Once the team has exhausted funds for the liquidity pool buying, we send the contract address to friends, family, investors who want to be able to get in. So obviously the plan is we buy first, then we give it to our close friends and family, and then maybe the public eventually, right? And even the day before, Crypto King reminds everyone, quote, Zoo Day is tomorrow. I highly recommend everyone get a few $100 to a few $1,000 in Zoo when it goes live. It will likely 10 to 1,000x. So that was their plan. Rather than doing a pre-sale, they were going to do this stealth launch and hopefully get tokens cheaply the same way, but without all the legal troubles. Or at least that was the plan. Because on stealth launch day, this is where things first started to go wrong for the team. At first, everything seemed to go normal. The team sat in a circle and literally bought it out as planned. But the next day, Crypto King says something odd. Quote, a bot is playing with our token. Kind of cool to watch them work. But he doesn't mention who this bot is. And he also says the asshole finished selling, but doesn't mention who that is. Now, Jeff, Logan's manager, replies upset. He says, how do we prevent someone doing what they just did again? We went from an $130 million to $26 million market cap in 2 hours. It's not cool to watch. Logan jumps in. Yeah, wait, how did that happen? And he also says, what asshole? How did anyone get this token except for us and none of us sold? And I think actually this is incredibly suspicious because the implication of what Logan's saying is, hey, we tried to scheme this really well. We tried to all buy this without letting anyone know. How did anyone else figure out we were buying it, right? And this is where a fight ensues that's going to become really interesting. Crypto King deflects the question by saying, my buyer pushed it back up to $40 million. And Logan says, no, bro, F your buyer. Explain to me what just happened and how there were 30 token holders. And Jake tries to explain that this was just traders and bots happening to find the token. But Logan says only 5 of us knew about it. Jake says, well, many people chase volume and new tokens. And to some extent, he's kind of right. But Logan replies, cap. He doesn't believe it. Quote, I can't be the only one who thinks that's too incredibly convenient. Like someone was tipped off. And look, no one's more critical of Logan than me. But as I'm reading these texts, I was kind of like agreeing. Like, yeah, it does seem too nonchalant when somebody's ruining your secret plot. You know what I mean? Because Crypto King was acting very strange. He says, we created $40 million out of thin air. This is a success. Logan replies, this nonchalance worries me. F 40 million. It was at 120 million, which again, it's all about the money with these guys. But truth be told, I did agree that Crypto King's attitude seemed strange in these texts. I mean, he's not wrong that bots are a thing. Traders are a thing. But it sounded like he didn't want anyone to look into it. So, naturally, I looked into it. And what I found surprised me, because there were bots, but there's also unusual human activity during this time. So I tracked the 5 biggest buyers of this Zoo coin. And lo and behold, this is what I found. Logan was one of the biggest buyers, which is what you'd expect. But he wasn't the biggest. In fact, 2 of the biggest wallets seem to be associated with Crypto King himself. And here's where I paused. I said, wait a second. Why did this guy buy more Zoo tokens than Logan when this is mostly Logan's project? I thought Crypto King was a small part of this team. And so to get more info on this, I actually got access to an internal meeting note from the day of June 11th, which they called Zoo Day. And in it, we find actually some interesting information. We see that 5 founders bought in. They apparently were, quote, trading in circles until each person maxed out. But on the list of buyers and how much they spend are only 4 people, when we know 5 people bought. We have Danny, Logan's assistant, for 20K, Logan Paul for 100K, Jeff at 100K, and Eddie at 100K, but Crypto King is nowhere to be found. And yet, on the blockchain, I have him putting in $200,000 worth. And this number, by the way, seemingly is confirmed in a conversation I had with Crypto King, where he said, my 200K investment. And the reason this is important is because it does imply that something shady was going on the day of the stealth launch. Because Crypto King had a relatively small role in this whole project. He was the advisor, but it wasn't that big of a deal. Like you can see from the internal meeting notes, they have a breakdown of who's getting what in terms of founder tokens. And like Logan Paul's getting 51%, Eddie's getting 30%, Jeff's getting 10%. Jake's only getting 5% of tokens, but he has the most of these like stealth launch tokens, which makes no sense. And it got me thinking that maybe what explains this suspicious behavior around like, oh, don't worry about who was buying at the time of the launch. Maybe that's explained because perhaps no one knew that he was buying up large parts of the token supply. Maybe he was buying it to sell later. Now, of course, that's speculation. So that's why I confronted Crypto King on all of this. But before we get to that call, let's address the elephant in the room. Logan didn't accuse Crypto King of being a scam. It was the other way around. Crypto King told Logan Paul he was a scammer. And the question is, why? Well, to answer that, we have to go from June, the stealth launch date, to September 1st, the official launch date of CryptoZoo.
September 1st, cryptozoo.co.
Now, the day of the launch was a bit strange because you might think, well, they already have a token, right? But the first thing they did was actually create a new Zoo token with a different code, but the same name. And they actually airdropped all the holders of the first Zoo token with an identical amount of those coins on the second Zoo token. So you might be wondering, why did they do that? Well, maybe it's to change the smart contract, but maybe it's because of what they did do. They blacklisted some of the holders. In other words, they didn't airdrop to everyone, including Jake the Crypto King. They excluded his wallets so it couldn't get these Zoo coins. Jake texts the group about this the next day, saying, quote, the Zoo team made a major error this weekend. They chose not to communicate, mint a new token, and airdrop it to whatever wallets they determined fit. This decision came from Eddie and Logan, and I had no part in it. 11,250 wallets before the airdrop, under 11,000 after. They chose to blacklist and ban over 200 wallets. Now, who those wallets are, I have no idea. But he continues, quote, as a founder like Logan, Jeff, Eddie, and Danny, I had purchased a large quantity of tokens. 5+ of my wallets had been blacklisted from the original team's buys. Now, I don't know why he had 5+ wallets there, but okay. He says 80+ billion Zoo tokens were confiscated from me to date without any communication. So, wow. That's why Crypto King accused Logan of stealing from him or scamming. It's because he was frozen out of a lot of his wallets. Then we get to the text you guys all know. He says, Logan, you stole $40 million. You're a scammer. You're a con artist, all that stuff. You betrayed your community. The reality is you aren't that guy. And Logan responds, oh, Jake, trust me, bro. I am that guy. Q, in the arms of an angel. And look, I mean, what do we make of this? Well, I don't know. I can't root for either of these guys because it sounds like Logan stabbed him in the back, but it sounds like Crypto King may have stabbed him in the back in the first place, right? because it does appear like he bought tokens that maybe everyone didn't know about. So I'm really not a fan of anyone in this situation. And by the way, this whole thing was structured so misleadingly from the beginning. I have to talk to you a bit about it, because you might think that these tokens were the only tokens they had, but it's not even true. In the distribution section of Zoo's white paper, they say there's 2 trillion tokens, and a quarter of that are allocated to development, marketing, and founders. Those aren't even the tokens we're talking about right now, because they claim that those tokens were locked up for 6 months, and then afterwards, 10% was unlocked every month. And if that's true, there would be no reason for these funds to be blacklisted, right? Why would you blacklist something that would be locked up? And the answer is because, well, the founders had more than one set of tokens. Not only did they supposedly have these founder tokens that were locked up and couldn't be sold, these stealth launch tokens were different from that. It's like a whole different thing. And the tokens that they bought, that all of these guys bought, they could sell at basically any time because they weren't locked up, which is a massive problem. And this fact was explicitly laid out in their meeting notes with only one rule. They say, quote, no selling until $200 million market cap, and don't impact the market more than 3%, and not impact the market more than 10% in a day. And by the way, this is basically conspiracy to manipulate a market. You know, they're literally having insider rules for how to sell. But we're going to look past that, right? Because these rules eventually kind of changed. A text from Logan's manager, Jeff Levin, came to the group chat, Zoo Founders, saying, guys, new and absolute rules. No one is to sell or transfer any Zoo. Logan's going to make the call when we can make moves. And Logan replies, your tokens do not leave your wallet. This is a game. Now, that all sounds well and good. Don't sell your tokens, don't sell your tokens. But the reality was, they're just kind of trusting each other, because these tokens that they're talking about, they're unlocked. They're not locked up, and they could sell it at any time. And I guess the question on my mind is that why Crypto King's tokens were blacklisted? Because they thought he would sell? Or maybe it's just the fact they found out he bought and they didn't know about all those tokens. It's honestly hard to say without knowing more evidence. And this is where we're going to jump into the blockchain. Now, I've tracked the wallets of the entire team and identified the largest seller of Zoo in the team. And it wasn't Jeff. It wasn't Danny. It wasn't even Logan. It was Crypto King. Crypto King sold, by my calculations, millions of dollars. And I know what you're thinking, how's that possible, right? I thought his tokens were blacklisted the day of the official launch. How could he sell that much? Well, the answer is that not all of his tokens were blacklisted. He had even more tokens behind the scenes. And what's worse, the CryptoZoo team actually gave him back a lot of his blacklisted tokens, which I guess you can see as a good thing or a bad thing, because he then turned around and sold those tokens, right? And from my blockchain analysis across his blacklisted tokens he got back and the tokens that he had squirreled away the whole time, he ended up making $6 million. He did this by sending out tokens from these larger wallets to dozens of smaller wallets, selling it, and then sending the money to final cash out wallets. So I used those final wallets to calculate the amount he made. Now, I know, look, it's a lot to accuse someone of selling $6 million in a project that doesn't even work. It's a giant scam. So I wanted to give him a chance to defend himself. So I got on a call with Crypto King, and here's what he said when I finally revealed that I knew he had sold.
It's going to change this whole fucking story. Yeah, I'll go on the record for you, and yes, I'm going to show you the text message that say we can sell at these ascending market caps, and literally, I'm going to 100%. It sounds like your biggest issue with me is that I sold. And if that's your biggest issue with me, that's the truth.
Wow, that is a big admission. Selling tokens for a project that you're an advisor on when the project has never been delivered. Although Crypto King insists that it wasn't $6 million and he wasn't trying to rug a project. In fact, really, he might be the one who got screwed over in all of this.
Like, I didn't sell $6 million worth. That's going to be other wallets, but that's probably not going to be able to be proven, except for them saying, can you send BNB to all these different wallets for me? Which that I'll be able to show you that I was giving BNB to the whole team. I will also be able to show you that I was a 5% holder of the Zoo tokens that I was promised to be given over the 3-month period, was never given. I can also show you that I was frozen out and was never given the 15 billion tokens back that I paid for in cash. So
Okay.
I can show you all of those things on the record, and then you can also say that I did sell, which is also true.
Yep.
As long as it's accompanied with he was a founder that was supposed to be given 5% of the project and was never given the token or paid, worked for almost a year on the project. As long as that goes in with it, then at least that tells my side of the story so people understand that it's not like I was trying to rug a project. It's like I put $250,000 into a project plus 6 months of time, and the founder never did anything he said he was going to do, and then hired a bunch of devs that didn't do what they were going to do. And every time I gave advice, the advice was I was told to fuck off. So it can be that story, or it can be he sold all this amount and he got in early. Well, yeah, that's like 1% of it though.
Incredible. He sounds like he views himself as the victim, or at least like he got screwed too, which just has to win the gold medal for me for mental gymnastics. Because, I mean, he literally had put $200,000 into this and he says he made millions of dollars. Even if you take him at his word that he didn't make the full 6 million, he admits to me later that it might be a pretty close guess. He tells me via text, quote, "I don't care if you tell people I sold a few million and leave it at that." Well, okay, $6 million, a few $1 million, it's millions of dollars, right? Millions of dollars when you only put in $200,000 into a project that's never been delivered, doesn't work, scammed people out of their money. How is he saying he's the one who's in the wrong? Well, in his view, what he did was not wrong. It might have been arguably unethical, but it wasn't illegal. And what Logan did, well, that was illegal.
You can say the timing was bad and it was inappropriate to sell, but the reality is I bought tokens open market and sold them open market. So there was nothing illegal about that. Ethically, arguable. The rest that Logan did to me was ethically wrong and illegal.
Now, what do I think of all this finger pointing? Well, I think it's pretty wild to try to make yourself look like the lesser of two evils when you made millions of dollars and investors lost millions. I just do. Now, at the same time, I want to be fair to Crypto King. He's not the only one who sold here. But I also have to say, not everyone from the founders did sell. For example, Jeff, Logan's manager, to my knowledge, never sold. Neither did Logan Paul, which was a huge surprise. All their wallets that I tracked, held on to their tokens, which is good, and to their credit for a game that doesn't work. But you know who did sell? Eddie Ibanez, the guy who didn't pay the initial devs, the supposed MIT orphan. Yeah, from what I could see, his initial wallet got a ton of Zoo, sent it to a bunch of smaller wallets, and then sold off, kind of like Crypto King. And for my calculations, he made about $1.7 million. Now, I have to tell you that like Jake, I tried to confront him and give him the opportunity to defend himself, but he never replied to my emails or my phone calls, and we're just gonna have to leave it there. But we're not done with the money just yet, because we still need to talk about the eggs. Remember, we talked about how they profited from Zoocoin, but they also made millions from eggs. According to their own internal meeting notes, they plan to make about $3 million selling these eggs for 0.1 ETH a piece. And that's not far from what I calculated they actually did make, which was about $2.5 million. In the meeting notes, they say they're going to clear expenses and then do payouts. But pay out who? They don't say. And these expenses are referencing an earlier note suggesting Eddie and Logan had both spent $300,000 each, which I'll say is not $1 million. But okay, we'll give it to them, right? So they got paid back their $600,000, but where does the rest of the money go? Well, on the Ethereum side, there's one payout for $364,000 to one wallet and another $1 million to another. Both are Coinbase addresses, so we don't know who exactly that is, but clearly someone on the team made a lot of money from these NFT egg sales that do not work. And on the Binance Smart Chain side, where they also made money selling eggs, the zoo that was spent was supposed to be set aside for 50% to be burned, which they did, but the other 50% was supposed to be allocated for wildlife charities and crypto zoo development. Now, neither seems to have happened because all the money is in a wallet that the team still controls, so there are open questions about, where that money is going to go and where the Ethereum money went. Did it go to Jake? Did it go to Logan? Did it go to Jeff? Did it go to Eddie? We don't know. But what I know for sure is that no one was innocent, although there are certainly shades of guilt you can argue about because, of course, not everyone did sell. You could look at that as the most important thing. Logan Paul didn't sell. Jeff, Logan's manager, didn't sell. But does that make them innocent? Well, I don't think so because they never built a game they promised people. Logan Paul specifically got millions of dollars spent on this game on the promise of the technology that he never built, that his team never built. And he never addressed the failure except to blame his developers who weren't paid. And you could say he promised to work backwards to fix it, but then never did. But at the same time, it's clearly not just Logan's fault either, because there are major team issues, right? You've got Eddie selling millions of dollars of Zoo and then allegedly not paying developers. You've got Jeff, who was warned about Eddie, who kept him on the team anyways. And then after they fired Eddie, seems to also have failed to pay developers on time. And then you've got Crypto King himself, who sold the most, but claims he was the guy who was scammed, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. It's just like Avengers Assemble for the worst possible team you can imagine to build a crypto gang. And so, unsurprisingly, it turns out a lot of these guys backstabbed each other. And so, finding a way to wrap this up was difficult because it's hard to assign exact proportions of blame. Because if you focus on any one person, you kind of miss why this project failed. CryptoZoo, at the end of the day, did not fail because the price went too low. CryptoZoo failed because they never built a functioning game that they promised. Really, the number one problem, even bigger than people selling millions of dollars of tokens, was that they never paid the developers on time, as boring as that is. And as a result, the investors not only got rugged for millions of dollars, which is a problem, but they just didn't get the core thing they had bought from the beginning, which was not a crypto project, but something different.
I'm excited to launch my game.
You keep using and you just did it again, you keep using a word there, game. You're not using like a project. It's a game.
It's a game. It's a really fun game that makes you money.
That's it. That to me is the biggest scam in all of this. Yes, it's a huge problem. People stole millions of dollars, but it's a symptom of the larger issue, which is people didn't actually care about the game or this, whatever you want to call it. They just cared about the money. And this is ultimately what happens when you have an influencer LARPing as a businessman. It's what happens when you have a liar LARPing as a developer. And it's what happens when you have a shady crypto guru LARPing as a crypto king. You end up with a mess. And in my personal opinion, a fraud as well. And now that this thing blew up in their faces, these four seem to be dodging accountability faster than SBF dodges calls with me. Because I have reached out to everyone involved. I've tried to get all of their statements on things. So far, no one has taken accountability or offered to refund the victims at all. They're all hiding, pretending these victims don't even exist. But they do exist. And throughout my investigations, they've been the heartbeat of this whole thing. So I decided to close this investigations in a bit of a unique way. Rather than me deciding who's to blame or me deciding what you should think, I want to give them the last word.
Everyone's to blame. Logan, in the sense of his poor management, is his project. He still made these promises to people.
I think everyone it is to blame, including Logan Paul, of course, because he was the one in charge of this, and he was responsible for all of this mess.
Everybody has a big part and a massive cross to bear.
Each one of them scammed the project in their own way, and then off to the sunset they went.
It was his job to check the team, to make sure that everyone is working together, to make sure that he is giving the funds of the people that put it into his project under his name to people that he actually trusts. So in my opinion, if the team failed to perform, that's Logan Paul to blame.
The community is destroyed. People is angry. They just want their money back. They just want their normal lives back.
Reimburse those loyal fans that they have, or try to rebuild the project, actually deliver on the project for those who are still holding their eggs like I am, or for those holding the Zoo coins. So maybe they could just deliver what they promised, and that would give some redemption to this fiasco.
He's not said a word. That's as bad, or almost as bad, as taking the money. It's the not coming out and just being a man about it.
At least we deserve to know what was happening behind the scenes while we were waiting for almost a year and a half. The fact that we're hearing this information not from Logan Paul, but from pretty much an investigator, it really says a lot.
What did this loss mean to me? It meant a lot, not just personally, because I lost quite a lot of money. My kid and also my wife were invested. It was like telling a kid that Santa doesn't exist or something like that, because she really believed in all that game. She really believed in Logan Paul. Kids look up to that kind of people. So it was some kind of broken dream.
My mum was invested. My sister was also invested. So, I mean, my daughter even had a couple of the eggs and animals, which the loss for them hurts the most because obviously it's just not nice to see.
For somebody to win, somebody has to lose. That's a gamble you take whether you get into crypto or not. I got in knowing that I could lose, which is fine. That's on me. But I thought if I lost something, it would be because I sold at the wrong time, or the game didn't earn as much as I thought it would, and therefore my things weren't as valuable. But you never go into it thinking it's not something that they're going to just sell out from underneath you, because they could make so much more if they actually delivered on what they said, even if they delivered on close to what they said. And that's the thing, is you don't think they're going to rug you because there was so much money in a game wallet.
Ultimately, at the end, the way I see it is it was fraud. Logan could have put out the red flags, told people to stop investing more into it, because people were investing into this project until the very last minute, where the ship was still just sinking down the ocean, and people were still putting their cash into it.
If I was on a call with Logan Paul, I would ask him, where did his redemption arc go? I think he was on such a good streak going about his YouTube career and boxing as well. And it's sad to see that because of money, once again, we have degraded down to stealing from his viewers.
What would I say to Logan Paul and his team if I could? Well, actually, I could, because I have an NFT from other project that gives me the right to see Logan Paul, to meet and greet with him. And I will actually use that right to tell him this story again, show him this video in front of me, and see how he reacts when he sees that my family, my whole family and my kid are affected with this situation, because I think that's not human.
You would think that Logan would have told his fellow followers, his loyal fans, that, hey guys, back off, red flag, things are there's turbulence in the water. No, not a single word, nothing whatsoever.
To market products at children and knowing full well that his team is made up of people that he believes are shady characters. Yeah, he still goes on Forbes interviews and says the game is great for kids. It's gonna be amazing.
Who loves it most? The kids. Their kids love it.
Our developers' kids, all of them, cannot stop playing the game.
I think that is inhumane, the way that side of it's been marketed.
Knowing what's happened since, knowing that all of the people that were there from the beginning, like all of the guys that I'd speak to on a daily basis, that we've all just got nothing now. Ideally, I just want to say I'll see you in court.
What up? Welcome to Coffeezilla. Today we're covering part 2 of the Nigerian scammer. Today we confront him and ask him why he did it. What's in his mind? What's going on in Nigeria? But before we get into anything else, before we talk about the $10 million studio, which as you can see is coming together, let me say, I saw a disturbing figure on the internet. This may be the worst thing I've ever seen. Check it out. 58% of you have not smashed like and subscribed. Dude, how many times does Ana Anka have to tell you?
And subscribe.
Okay, I'm pissed off. Okay, so this October, my goal for October is to get this number to 50%. Subscribes need to come up, and if you're not subscribed, you need to leave. So that's my big thing for October. We can only right so many wrongs on the internet, but this is definitely one of them. Now, anyways, without further ado, let me just say, how's this audio sound, by the way? We fixed that. I know that was potato for a while. It's getting better. It's not, I'm not going to say it's perfect, but it's getting better. The visuals are getting better. The $10 million studio, I told you guys, just patience. Oh, there it goes. It popped again. Patience. I got to not. I got to not. We're coming together slowly. But frankly, I could use some of your help. If you happen to have some digital 3D work in Unreal Engine or anything like that for virtual sets, I could really use you, frankly. So if you're familiar, if you're a fan of the show, if you're looking for a side project during Cove, I could really use it. All right, that's it. Sorry to rant at you guys for a little bit. I know a lot of you are going to be like, haha, video starts at 2 minutes. No. Everything I just said was very important. So enough of that. Don't say that ever again. But anyways, let's talk about what we came here to talk about, which is my confrontation with the scammer. So first things first, I tried calling him. You're going to go, why didn't you call him? I tried. He immediately hung up on me. And so I panicked and I was like, oh crap, he's going to block this number because I only had one number for him. So I immediately kind of played hardball. I said, look, you block me, I'm going to the authorities. I'm going to SARS. The truth is, I was bluffing. I don't even know how to get a hold of SARS. I wouldn't have gotten a hold of SARS anyway. But we're playing hardball. We're playing with scammers. So I said, look, you go to block me. I'm gonna go to SARS, boy. I said, I have screenshot. This is after he hung up on me. He said, who's this? I said, just an interested journalist. I don't know. Am I a journalist? I don't know if I am. We'll just say I am. What scam get? So he plays dumb. I sent him some screenshots. He plays dumb. No, that ain't me. What scam? There's no scam going on anywhere. Liar. He establishes himself as a liar early on in this conversation. I just want to say that. Okay? He's just playing dumb. Are you talking about a Bitcoin scam or something? Finally, I get to the point. I say, you scam people with Instagram investing pages. There's no getting out of it. I know everything. It's too late. Oh, I understand now. Ha 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 ha. It didn't work, bro. People were smarter, especially when it comes to Bitcoin. Press X to doubt. This is a part of the conversation. I almost skipped by it because frankly, it's like kind of useless because he just denies making a lot of money. Now, in some ways, we don't know if he's not telling the truth here. Maybe he wasn't making money. On the other hand, he lied to us at the beginning of the conversation, and this is exactly what a scammer would say if they were afraid that you were going to go to the police or report them or anything like that. Of course, he's going to go, oh yeah, I didn't make any money. I don't do it anymore. He says now all he does is he trades online, which is stupid. As you guys know, you're not going to make a lot of money doing that. So he's probably still scamming. That's just my guess. But I'm not going to try to confront him on this because frankly, I don't think that's a productive conversation to have. Instead, I try to turn it and make it about scams in Nigeria in general and what he thinks about the morality. Because my question is, do you guys care that you're scamming people? So I'll scroll down to that part of the conversation because he just kind of denies it. And so I go, how deep did these scams go? He's trying to say, oh, you should check out this trader. I don't care. And so he goes, honestly, bro, I can't really say, but there are a lot of greedy people out there. One thing I can assure you as a fact is that everyone you see on Bitcoin on Instagram is a scammer, whether the person posted a photo or commented under that photo. Okay, true. Honestly, true. And so then finally he's like, okay, I understand how wicked it is to ruin someone's life through scam. Okay, so he's kind of confessing a little bit, you know? It's like, I understand how wicked it is, but then you do it. Like, what? I mean, come on, buddy. Why would you do it if you know that you're saying it's wicked? Okay. Then he says, but why would someone invest with a stranger in the first place that promises dubious returns, bro? I find it hard to give anyone money online. Yeah, you find it hard to give people money online? Maybe that's because you're a scammer. So I said, I wonder that myself many times, probably because the people who do this are expert schemers and know how to convince people with social proof. And I show him evidence of that, of him doing that, basically tricking people. And I say, stuff like this is how people get trapped. They see the social proof and think it's legit. That's how Ponzi schemes make money. Like, of course, this guy, I mean, if you're in the industry, like from my side of trying to bust these guys, or you're a scammer, of course you're going to say, well, you can't trust anyone online because this is the stuff you look at all day. But he's neglecting the fact that most people are not like scammers. And, you know, in the comment section of my last video, I'm going to have to pull up a few examples of this, but I had a bunch of comments basically saying that this guy, all his excuses about why he had to do it, they're just lies. Because we apparently have a bunch of people in our comment section that are Nigerian, but they basically goes, it's sad that a lot of people support these scammers. In Nigeria, they're called Yahoo boys. A lot of Nigerians don't see anything wrong with it. because they see it as they are taking money from people that are rich, so it's not bad or anything. But then some of them point out that even they're like apparently from rich parts of the country, or at least they're saying that. They're saying they're upper middle class or went to some really good schools because they have written English. They've been wealthy and have been wealthy for a long time. And so the psychology they use here is just a justification mechanism that they can only use with foreigners. Nigerians would call BS on the reasoning. So yeah, it's important to include that as we go forward with this, because like he is a little bit slick here, and he's trying to say, oh yeah, I totally understand. I didn't even make money with it. I don't even do it anymore. I think a lot of people in the comment section from last video and this video are going to call BS on that, because I don't believe it. I don't think they believe it. And basically, yeah, so for a long time here, I'm not even going to go through all of them. I'm not even going to give him the time of day on this, because he's just basically saying the whole time that I'm not making any money. And then this is pretty funny. He goes, can I refer you to the stocks chat room? He's talking about the trader that he likes. He's like, can I refer you so I can get a referral? As if I'm going to join. He's trying to scam me in the conversation where I'm confronting him. What is this guy doing? And I was like, yeah, sure. Just have a few more questions for you first. Number one, was it the morality that got you to stop stocks colleges and David Ferris FX, or was it the fact that it wasn't working? Number two, is everyone in Nigeria afraid of SARS? I've read up on them. They almost seem like terrorists. They just got some sketchy motivations. He laughs at that. I say, what? He goes, Stocks College isn't a scam. David Ferris was. That's a total lie. Okay, again, this guy's lying. He's been caught multiple times already in this conversation lying, but that also is a lie. Stocks College talks about needing David Ferris for the scam. So, of course, he was scamming. He talks about scamming. But he says David Ferris was because it was a fake account of a different individual, and it wasn't working out because people knew it was kind of fishy to invest $500 and receive $20,000 in a month. Again, we don't have any verification of that. There's a saying that SARS are actually angry because they missed the opportunity to scam in their days, so they catch young boys and collect money from them. You did not hear this from me. And the interesting thing is that I think there's some evidence for this of SARS being very corrupt, because multiple people contacted me about it, and they say SARS is a division of the police that tackle robbery, but they found out that it makes no sense chasing robbers and risking their lives. They simply stop and search youngsters knowing they could make money easily. This is because they can simply call you a scammer, and most people would believe. And when they catch real scammers, they simply collect as much funds as they can and release them back into the wild. Basically, in Nigeria, you can apparently stop and search without a warrant or cause. So that's what's interesting, is like he's kind of right about SARS being a bit of a scam, because we've heard it from multiple people now. And he's saying, like, look, they share it amongst themselves. The government doesn't pay them as much as they can make from young scammers or rich people doing well in the country. Like, they have a job to catch scammers. Bail is their side hustle, which is insane. And then he goes, please leave Stocks Colleges out of this. This is legit people. Dude, bro, we've got them in DMs scamming people. What are you talking about? Again, I think he's just covering for his buddy here. And he goes, that's why I mentioned greed. There are people greedier than you can imagine that want to get rich quick. Their greed leads them to loss of money, not the scammer. Okay. Bravo for the biggest mental gymnastics in the world. Oh, it's not my fault they're losing money. Yeah, it is your fault. So then he goes, man, I'm trying to take time to go into details for you, and I ain't even getting paid. Time is money, yo. Bless me with funds, bro. Dude. Scam into the bitter end. Bro, I'm probably broker than you. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. But then our scammer here actually starts to get insightful. He goes, if you're looking for a business, you'll find a business. If you're looking for a get rich, you'll find a scam. That is actually true. There are victims who they get themselves in these situations because they are actually actively looking for a way to get rich quick, and it just doesn't exist. And he goes on, there's nothing that can be done even if it gets exposed. He's talking about Nigerian scams. People have been getting scammed since the 1970s. Check the history. It didn't start overnight. What needs to be reformed is the mindset of the youths. We have kids in Nigeria who are thinking of scamming because of no money. I saw a 16-year-old boy or younger boy today with an iPhone 11 Pro Max. I knew straight away that it was a result of a successful scams or fraud. The music in the country promotes scams. The government promotes scams indirectly through their actions. So does the police and everyone else. It'll make a good story, but it'll introduce more youths into scams if you choose to go with it. Now, I disagree with that. I think education is the key. I think sunlight is the best disinfectant. So I totally disagree with him there. But I just follow up, like, can you elaborate on that idea that the government and music promotes scams? And he says, youths will figure out that scammers are really successful and will indulge in it. They believe they can scam all their lives without consequence. That's the mindset, bro. I believe the only solution is the reformation of the African people. The reason they scam is that because they don't know who they are amongst themselves. Dude, is anyone hearing like some patriotic music backing here? This is a pretty good speech. Honestly, pretty good speech for a scammer. Therefore, it's safe to say that the government is scamming its citizens. The youths have seen that and they don't want to be slaves underneath a greedy government. Therefore, they decide to attack everyone and make money any way they can. The youths are only reciprocating what's being done to them in their country. Like, yeah, it's not a bad line of reasoning, but it's also trying to absolve yourself. It's clearly so self-justifying and self-motivated. But I wanted to say, I mean, he has a point. He says, from within, so without. Worldwide scams in Nigeria is a reflection of what's really going on in the country. In Nigeria, everyone scams each other. It baffles me to this date. We'll have to talk to you later. I have to go now. And that's the conversation. I mean, that's pretty much it. Interesting stuff. I mean, I don't know what you guys think of that. How much does the government shape the scamming culture? I'm very interested to hear what you think. My guess is this will be a polarizing interview. And let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always,
don't forget to smash like